Ukrainian forces destroyed the Russian troops, infiltrated Pokrovsk. For more than a year, since capturing the ruins of Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast, the 600,000-strong Russian army occupation in Ukraine has had its sights set on one main objective: Pokrovsk, a city in Donetsk with a pre-war population of 60,000 that anchors a chain of important towns and cities stretching north toward the border with Russia. On Tuesday, a Russian reconnaissance and sabotage group managed to cross the no man's land south of Pokrovsk and take shelter in a building on the city's edge. They likely weren't there long before a Ukrainian drone operated by the 155th Mechanized Brigade spotted them, and the brigade destroyed the building in a precise strike. It cost Russia tens of thousands of casualties and hundreds of vehicles marching the roughly 40 kilometers from Avdiivka to Pokrovsk. But march they did, as 2024 turned into 2025. Two Russian field armies, each overseeing as many as a dozen regiments with up to 2,000 troops apiece, reached Pokrovsk's outskirts. The lead Russian elements hunkered down just a few miles from the city. Ukraine rushed reinforcements, including the newly formed 155th Mechanized Brigade with German-made Leopard 2 tanks, but the hastily organized and poorly led brigade disintegrated upon arrival, prompting senior Ukrainian officials to step in. Drone warfare helped save Pokrovsk's defenders. Operating miles behind enemy lines, drones turned the key Ocheretny Progress Road into a graveyard of Russian supply trucks and armored vehicles. Drone raids significantly complicated logistics for the Russian armed forces, noted the pro-Ukraine conflict intelligence team in a dispatch. Today, the 155th Mechanized Brigade is battle-hardened, and the Russian forces south of Pokrovsk are in a worse shape. It's one thing for saboteurs to briefly infiltrate the edge of the city and die trying. It's another for a full-scale Russian assault to hold ground there. Still, Ukraine expects more attempts. The Pokrovsk direction is viewed by Ukraine's military political leadership as the absolute priority for the armed forces of the Russian Federation, the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies reported. Typically, in situations like this, both Ukraine and Russia deploy additional forces to stabilize the problematic part of the front line. This often involves pulling one or more battalions from quieter sectors and redirecting them to more critical areas. However, after Ukraine was compelled to redeploy its resources to the Kharkiv Oblast and then to Sumy for the Kursk operation, the number of available units for such stabilization efforts was significantly reduced. It is imperative for Ukrainian forces to prevent a swift and easy takeover of Pokrovsk, as this could buy Ukraine the necessary time to organize a defense beyond the Pokrovsk area, an opportunity missed in a similar situation in Avdiivka. If Russia exhausts its forces to capture Pokrovsk, it may lack the resources or morale to advance further. Furthermore, Ukraine has demonstrated a capacity for sudden and effective counterattacks against overextended enemies, an approach that has proven effective given the Ukrainian forces' greater mobility and more decentralized approach compared to Russian forces. The Ukrainian leadership has several options to stabilize the line, including deploying newly formed brigades, repositioning forces from the Kursk and Kharkiv areas, or pulling battalions for more stable fronts. Whether the Ukrainian command will take these steps remains to be seen, but such a scenario cannot be ruled out. As of today, the situation around Pokrovsk is dire and dangerous, with the potential to create a serious operational catastrophe if the town is lost. Recently, on 1st May, Russian troops launched 8 casualties, focusing efforts on Vovchansk and Dvorichina, where Ukrainian defenses blocked river crossings and inflicted heavy losses. Russian forces have sharply intensified their activity across the entire Kharkiv front line, with 8 separate clashes reported on 1st May in the areas of Liptsi, Vovchansk, and Dvorichina, according to Pavlo Shamshin, spokesperson for Operational Tactical Grouping of Forces Kharkiv. Ukraine says that Russian units launched attacks along the whole line of engagement in the oblast, in Vovchansk, which is a long-time focus of Russian activity. After a year of fighting in Vovchansk, he said, the city has essentially ceased to exist and called it a field of ruins, where virtually no undamaged building remains. The Russians are using underground utilities and basements to gather assault units for further offensives. Russian artillery, multiple rocket launchers, thermobaric systems, and drones continue to bombard Vovchansk. In the city, the front line now runs along the Vovcha River, where all Russian attempts to cross have been repelled and their forces destroyed.